The possibilities for making money illicitly are seemingly endless. To so-called white-collar criminals, the risks appear low and the returns high. Mail fraud is one of the most popular financial crimes in the United States, with thousands of cases prosecuted by attorneys every year. But it's a bit of an irony when an attorney defrauds people through a Ponzi scheme. On today's episode of Fraud Files, we will be talking about the case of a South Bend attorney, Sven Eric Marshall Jr., who defrauded more than 16 of his investors. We will also explore a similar story of mail fraud involving two friends, Jimmie James and Tyree Johnson. To get all the details in this story, make sure you watch until the end, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button to become part of this channel and click the bell icon to get notified of our subsequent videos. In a case investigated by the FBI and prosecuted by Assistant United States Attorneys Luke N. Rylander and John M. McKeesick, a 64-year-old South Bend man by the name Sven Eric Marshall Jr. was sentenced to 121 months in prison and ordered to pay $1,938,193.15 in restitution. According to reports and documents made available in court in this case, Sven Eric Marshall practiced law as an attorney in South Bend in the area of wills, trusts, estates, and other elder law matters. He also provided financial accounting services and sold investment securities. From between 2003 until its fall in December 2011, Marshall's investment business, Trust and Investment Advisory Services of Indiana Incorporated, defrauded investors by paying their supposed investment returns with other investors' money. He also used investors' money for his personal needs. Marshall defrauded more than $730,000 from 16 different investors over the course of his scheme. Many of Marshall's victims invested their entire life savings and suffered substantial financial hardship after they lost their money. In addition to stealing from his investors, Marshall also embezzled more than $1.3 million from 7 clients who had hired Marshall to prepare their wills and estates. Marshall did not distribute the victims' money according to their directives, but instead used the estate's money for his own personal and business needs. The beneficiaries of these wills never received the money the victims wanted to leave them. These beneficiaries included numerous schools, charitable organizations, religious communities, and local churches. In the civil suit filed in April, Stanley and his late wife Mary Jane Claybore said they hired Marshall in 2001 to handle the estate of Stanley Claybore's mother after she died. The Claybores received about $80,000 from the sale of the mother's home, which Marshall suggested they invest with him at an interest rate of 6 to 6.5%, according to the lawsuit. Since investing, the Claybores had Marshall prepare and file their taxes, and he continued to provide them with updates on their investment, which they paid taxes on. As of this past December, the Claybores were told by Marshall they had a total of $253,043. The couple attempted to withdraw the money but were unable to reach Marshall despite numerous efforts. At the beginning of the year, Marshall was neither answering nor returning calls, and it wasn't long before his office on Mashaka Avenue was empty. All that was left was a sign directing his tax clients to contact another CPA. EM office is now closed, the sign read. The summons and subpoenas in the lawsuit, all sent to Marshall's law office, were returned to sender with no forwarding address, according to court records. Phone messages aren't returned. He no longer appears to have an online presence, and no one answers the door at 2 homes in South Bend that property records show are owned by his wife. With Marshall unable to be located, Michael Anderson, the Claybores' attorney, filed a motion for a default judgment in July. Judge Margot Reagan ruled the case had merit and ordered Marshall to pay $795,508. While Anderson is grateful the judge agreed the evidence in this case supported the Claybores' fraud and theft claim, he said he expects it to be an arduous process getting the money. It's a tremendous amount of work to track assets, he said. If Marshall had fled to another state and his assets are there, Anderson said, they will have to begin the long process of domesticating Reagan's judgment to that state, and that's assuming they find where Marshall is and if he has any assets, he added. There are a few leads on where Marshall might be, Anderson said, but he wouldn't comment further. Now our hope is that we can find him and actually make him pay, he said. We will never let go. The Claybores aren't the only ones who allege Marshall defrauded them. In a second civil suit which has not been ruled on, James York, Beverly Lockmondy, Joyce Bryant, and John and Rhonda Landgraf said they all made multiple investments with Marshall over the years. From April 2008 to April 2011, York invested a total of $168,000. From November 2003 to March 2011, Lockmondy invested $85,537. Bryant invested $185,000 from September 1999 to August 2004, and the Landgrafs invested $44,500 from February 2010 to January 2016. In the lawsuit, they all claim they were receiving paperwork on their investments from Marshall from the time they started investing until January of 2022. Although he now represents the Claybores against Marshall, in the 30 years that Anderson has known Marshall, he never thought something like this would happen. Marshall was sentenced to 121 months in prison, 2 years of supervised release, and ordered to pay $1,938,193.15 in restitution to the various victims of his offenses. He was sentenced by United States District Court Chief Judge John E. DiGiulio on his plea of guilty to mail fraud, securities fraud, and bank fraud. In a similar case investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and prosecuted by Assistant U.S. Attorney Spiro G. Lutzis, a 33-year-old Houston resident, Jimmie James was sentenced on May 25, 2022 to 30 months in prison for conspiring to commit mail fraud. Let's get into the details of the story. According to documents presented in court, Jimmie James conspired with Tyree Johnson, who was an employee with United Parcel Service, to steal shipments of Apple iPhones from the UPS Customer Service Center where Johnson worked. Their plan was simple. Johnson would over-label boxes of iPhones destined for AT&T mobility stores with a shipping label provided to him by James. These shipping labels would cause the boxes of iPhones to be redirected to James's home or an unidentified co-conspirator living in Chalmette. As a reward for over-labeling the packages, James paid Johnson at least $3,500 through the Zelle payment application. This went on until James was apprehended. The Honorable Ivan Lamel sentenced James to 30 months in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a $100 mandatory special assessment fee and payment of $178,409 in restitution. U.S. Attorney Evans praised the work of the Federal Bureau of Investigation in investigating this matter. The 23-year-old Tyree Johnson, a resident of Orleans Parish, was also sentenced on May 25, 2022 for conspiring with Jimmie James to commit mail fraud. This act is in violation of 18 U.S.C. 371. The Honorable Ivan Lamel also sentenced Johnson to 5 years probation, a $100 mandatory special assessment fee, and payment of $178,409 in restitution. And here we come to the end of today's episode of Fraud Files regarding Eric Marshall, Jimmie James, and Tyree Johnson, who were involved in the criminal act of mail fraud. Remember, even when hiding, the law will still hit you with justice. Try to stick to legal mail from places like Amazon. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe to our channel and push that like button. Stay tuned to our channel for amazing videos like this one by clicking the bell icon. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comment section below about this event. We'll see you in another Fraud Files soon. Until then, only send legal mail.